What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another weather forecast, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at a potential for another big snowstorm for the eastern United States here. And it can go anywhere from Georgia to areas like in New York and Vermont. So we're looking at a potential big eastern long track snowstorm next week. Late next week. Obviously that this can change, but models have been quite consistent, including GFS, CMC, and European. So it seems that there's definitely a possibility, especially with the incoming cold front in that same time frame. There's a chance there could be a pretty big snowstorm next week here for all of like Alabama, up to Appalachia. So it's gonna look like it could be a very significant and widespread snowstorm if it goes how models anticipate. But before we get the video, please subscribe if you're new, hit the like button if you really enjoyed the video, and hit the post notification icon so you get notified as soon as I do a video. Without further ado, let's get into the forecast. So here's looking out at the GFS here. So this is actually one of the main models I have actually been consistent with showing the snowstorm here. So let's see. This is what we're seeing in the next 24 hours, or sorry, 12 hours. We're going to see that snowstorm in the Midwest, like I've been talking about for a few days. And then there you see a huge blob of precipitation. Let me actually move my screen a little bit. This is actually in 36 hours. This is still up into Wednesday, November 25th. Here you do see a big blob of rain, and that's going to come with the low pressure following that cold front here. You can see that cold front there with those red squiggly lines. That is the incoming cold front that's moving in here, coming from Canada, and that's going to bring in those really cold temperatures meeting up with all that precipitation. So there's a chance that that cold rain can definitely turn into some snow, like we saw with the snowstorm in the Great Lakes 2 days ago and the one we're about to see today. As we continue moving on now into the next 42 hours, I do see that rain just becomes even more and more widespread there. But this is not really what we're talking about here. This is just an example of what we can see. I was just talking about one example. So this is an example of what I was talking about here. This is an example of that rain coming in, meeting with the cold front. But let me go and tap now to what actually is that rain. So here it is. Let's see. This is November 30th. That's not it. Here it comes right there. Okay. Here it comes. This is December 3rd. So it's pretty far into next week, but models have been very consistent with it, which gives me an eye popping, and it's pretty intriguing to think how models have been consistent, and it does match up. There is going to be precipitation coming from the Gulf of Mexico, meeting up with the big cold front here. You can see this cold front entering right here. You can see those lines. It's going to be a very large cold front. We're at 20 degrees below average in areas like the Great Lakes, Southeast, and the southern Midwest. So there is a chance this precipitation. Same thing happened with Benji, which Benji happened December 7th, so almost the exact same time as this one. The precipitation came from the Gulf of Mexico, and snow started all the way from Texas, went all the way up to Maine. That's exactly how Benji started, and this could be the exact same pattern there, except way more to the north. As you see, this cold front is going to meet up with that precipitation. So obviously what we see there is that low pressure, that warm air aloft, that warm moisture air, which is going to meet up with the cold front, and that means snow is going to happen right into the areas that are just south of that cold front. Exactly what we're seeing there, December 3rd. Exactly why I think this is so possible. And usually I don't talk about snowstorms this far out, but it seems as if there actually is a very good possibility. Even the Weather Channel has even put me under snow, which they don't usually do this far out, but there's a lot of confidence around these global models that tend to be accurate, including the European here. And you do see by December 3rd, still seeing now that those rain showers turning to ice slightly. I mean, it's going to be convergent, especially as we get in the overnight hours between December 3rd and to the 4th. We're going to be seeing a lot of that rain turning into sleet, and then turning to snow later on that day. But you do see snow all the way to Kentucky, Indiana, and Missouri near St. Louis. This won't be a region thing. It's going to be all over the eastern United States here. And I just see there it is, all that rain turning into snow. And extremely heavy snow near areas like Cincinnati, Indianapolis. There's going to be a big snow event for areas like Kentucky and the southern Midwest and Ohio Valley. Tennessee, including Nashville. You guys can get that really heavy snow in the upper mountains near Asheville, North Carolina. Going to see some snow all the way up into Memphis and up to Mississippi. So this is going to be a pretty far southern snowstorm that won't just affect the southeast. It's going to affect far up in other areas. I mean, look, it's going to push all the way up into southern Illinois. It's going to push all the way up into Memphis, Tennessee, pushing into Paducah, pushing into Indianapolis again, even all the way to Montgomery and Metro Atlanta area by December 4th. And then by December 5th here, this low pressure is still going to be here with this low pressure, or with this cold front. So this low pressure has plenty of time just to convert from all rain to possibly even all snow by December 5th. As you do see, I'm including the snow here. Metro Atlanta, Gainesville, Georgia, Helen, Georgia, Nashville, Tennessee, there, Huntsville, Alabama, areas near Lexington and Cincinnati. And then look, it still continues. Look, by December 5th, I'm way deep in that snow. Now the snow goes all the way up into South Carolina. So basically, this low pressure, the snow starts right here, basically. And then it goes all the way around this low pressure, and it goes back because it's following that cold front here. So it's going to be a long day, or a long snowstorm, up to possibly 3 days here. You see, meeting up that moisture to the first on December 3rd. By December 4th, into overnight hours, there you see it's blowing up completely for areas in the Ohio Valley and southern Midwest. And you see December 4th, we have a lot of this western side of the low pressure converting into the snow because this cold front is right here. So we wouldn't really have snow in this part of the low pressure because that's where we have that warmer, moist air. So areas that are to the west of that low pressure and south of that low pressure is where that cold front is in place, which is exactly where that snow will be. And you see it's going to continue all the way up into North Carolina, still seeing flurries up near Metro Atlanta, areas near Roanoke, Raleigh, Charlotte, and then going to go all the way up into areas into Virginia. And then it just dies in conversion to rain as that cold front will probably move out. But I know it's really far out. I'm just keeping in mind this is definitely has a great probability of actually occurring due to the atmospheric conditions that are already expected to come. I mean, for example, I expect to see the upper 20s and highs not surpassing 50, which usually you see when it meets with moisture, some snow. That same thing happened with Benji. Same thing happened last February when I got snow. So there's something to keep in mind here. So here's looking now at the GFS and what it actually has. So you do see 240 hours out. This is in the weather models. It only goes 240 hours out, but I'll be showing the next GFS. It goes up to 360 or 384 hours out. And you just see, look at that, all the snow for potentially one system. Look at that snow there in North Carolina. But I know you guys have a hard time. Even I have a hard time looking at it since it's so zoomed out. So I'm actually gonna try to zoom in for you guys. I'll try to go into. Let's go towards. Oh, this is tricky. Let's go to the Kentucky and Tennessee first here. So yeah, let's go to Kentucky and Tennessee first. Let me move my screen and my webcam. My webcam's always in the way. I don't like that. There we go. I just see this is Tennessee and Kentucky here. And this actually can show the whole thing, actually. I actually like choosing this. But let's take a look now at the Tennessee and North Carolina border first here, since that's the most eye-popping area. Has up to 28 inches of snow here. 28.3 inches is the max, and it's right here near the North Carolina and Tennessee border here. And that's exactly where we have the Great Smoky Mountains and the highest elevations here. Obviously, this is mainly in Tennessee, or this is mainly in North Carolina, but we do have the border right here, right there. That's the border. So we are getting to the Tennessee border as well. But areas like Asheville, North Carolina, you guys can get extreme amounts of snow, well over 6 inches of snow. Areas near Franklin, North Carolina, up to 18 to 23 inches of snow there. And then other areas, more rural areas right near the Tennessee border, can see over 28 inches of snow here. My area, they're predicting up to 2 to 3 inches, and that's obviously pretty reasonable. But areas northeast of me, you can see near Helen, Georgia, and Blairsville, up to 8 inches there. Upper northeastern Alabama, where the Appalachians begin, up to possibly half a foot of snowfall. Nashville, probably only 1 to 3 inches of snow, but areas north of Nashville, near the border of Tennessee, or border of Kentucky, can see 4 to 5 to maybe even 6 inches of snow, but I expect that to probably change significantly throughout the next few days. Not too much snow for the Knoxville area, not too much snow there for the Gallenberg area. It's going to be pretty low there, so that's pretty surprising. But look, even in St. Louis is possible, up to around 1 to 3 inches there, in areas just southeast of St. Louis can see up to 7 to 8 inches there. So it could be very snowy. Mississippi River and Ohio River there. Speaking of the Ohio River, areas near Cincinnati, 7 to 10 inches expected. That's a good amount of snow there compared to last year. Lexington, 4 to 6 inches of snowfall. A lot of Kentucky will get snow here, and that's surprising compared to last year. It was very boring here. But again, guys, this could very well change. I'm just very well change all this snowstorm and all that, but it's been very, very consistent with being forecasted. Much of southern Illinois, anywhere from 6 to 9 inches of snowfall. Areas near Indianapolis, up to 6 inches, and maybe 8 inches of snow. Now let's change maps here. Let's actually check a look here at the U.S. No, I want to look at Indiana. This is my least favorite part here, looking for the right state, because it's just so hard to look for the right state here. There we go. Areas near Indianapolis, anywhere from 6 to probably 4 to 6 inches of snow there. Areas just at the Fort Wayne can see well over 6 inches of snow. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a big, big snow event if it happens. How it's predicted. Even CMC, GFS, Euro, they all show it being pretty significant. Other models, they haven't gone that far out there, so we can't really use any other models as an example. So this look at now at the European model itself. As you do see, they don't show the snowfall totals being so significant, but they do show it actually affecting a lot of areas here. Let's start off with again, I hate this part, looking for the right state here. Let's start with Kentucky and Tennessee like we did last time. You do see a lot lower totals here. And areas where they show up to 20 plus inches of snow, and the GFS less than 4 inches really at all. Nashville, a trace to nothing. And areas where we get up to around 10 inches there. Near Cincinnati, only 3 to 5 inches. So really getting on the lower side here for the European. CMC doesn't have actually state regions, but it actually has the East United States. So I'm going to use this. But as you see, CMC is getting a pretty big snowfall event, but way more to the east, like almost all the Appalachians. So they don't get any snow for Nashville, any snow for Indianapolis, any snow for St. Louis. And I actually agree with the CMC. I actually think that the CMC is more reasonable and more realistic. I just don't see it, the slow pressure going here, then going around, then back. I just don't see that. I just see the typical where the random meets here and it goes up north. I think the CMC is the most realistic in my opinion here. They are showing a ton of snow here over the Northeast though. Not a single GFS or Euro showing that much snow or snow at all for areas like Pennsylvania, Ohio, or New York. But you do see they do actually have up to the Appalachians anywhere from 6 to 8 inches of snowfall. I'm just because I say the CMC is the most reasonable in my opinion, doesn't mean I agree with it completely. I would put more snow for the Appalachians here. I would probably put some more snow right here as well, and maybe put the snow more to the east as well. So there are some changes I would put here. So I think every model has a realistic part, but also an unrealistic part. So that's just really how it's going to go here. But yeah, Cleveland up to 18 inches of snow based on the CMC. Erie, Pennsylvania, possibly over 3 feet of snow there. Syracuse and Niagara Falls, wow, a ton of snow. Niagara Falls, possibly well over a foot of snow there. Areas near Syracuse, possibly 8 to 12 inches there. Areas near Ithaca, probably 5 to 8 inches of snow. Areas in far western Virginia, the highest elevation, possibly just under a foot there. Charleston, 8 to 9 inches of snow. I mean, it's going to be really widespread here. Youngstown in Ohio, possibly 10 to 12 inches of snow there. And even areas in the Adirondacks can see over a foot of snow. Maybe even 2 feet of snow in the Adirondacks. And all the way to Maine. So that's exactly why I think it's reasonable. I think the most reasonable part of the CMC isn't necessarily the snowfall totals. I do think the track is the most reasonable. Because this is the typical track you see where it goes all the way up the Appalachians. I don't see the twisty turny with all the west getting snow and the whole east getting rain. I think the CMC is probably the most reasonable for track wise. Maybe it's a little bit off in my opinion. It's just gonna really be, it's still more than a week out, so we have plenty of time for this to change. The snowstorm predictions not even change completely in the next few weeks and next few days, but definitely location and snowfall totals will be all over the place here. So don't get upset if you're not in snow right now, because it still has more than a week to change here. But it definitely seems like there's a great possibility this could happen just based on the big cold front and the precipitation. You can't get those wrong. So, you know what happens when those meet? You create snow. So here, looking now at the finished GFS here, this is actually 384 hours out. So this is not what the weather models has, because the weather model only goes up to, I believe, 240. This goes way further out. So this is kind of the full view of what the GFS is showing here. Where to start, though? I mean, look at that. It's near the little far western little portion of North Carolina. You can see over 2 feet of snow there, up to 28 inches to 30 inches there, just at the Asheville near Boone, North Carolina there as well. Showing up to a foot there north central Georgia. They have me under around 2 to 4 inches of snow, which is, I mean, I'll take it. But obviously, I'm not going to get excited whatsoever because this would change a lot. And then far northeastern Alabama, up to 8 to 12 inches. I mean, that's like 3 times their annual snow. So, I mean, doesn't mean it won't happen. I'm just saying it's a little sketchy here how much snow they're showing this far south. But obviously, we've had blizzards down here before. It's just, you know, you don't expect it in La Nina, do you? But obviously, 2020 has been a really weird year. So, I wouldn't doubt if a big snowstorm occurs in the southeast. And I've mentioned in my winter forecast that just because you're below average snowfall, just because you're in the winter battle zone, doesn't mean you won't get snow. So there is a chance we can get some big snowstorms for the southeast. Just depends what part of the southeast you are. So my example, where I am in the southeast, I'm more reasonable to get snow. But if you're down here in the southeast, probably not. But let's see, Nashville, 3 inches to 5 inches, but just the south of Nashville, near Chattanooga, or just north of Chattanooga, up to a foot of snow, and just north of Nashville, up to a foot of snow as well. Areas near the Cincinnati area, of course, you have probably 9 to 12 inches of snow. That's a bit of snow. That's more reasonable. And areas out here into the Indianapolis area in Illinois, that's getting a pretty good amount of snow there. You do see there. Let me actually move my webcam. Gosh, it's always in the way. Okay, let me move my screen like that. That's perfect. There you go. So, as you do see, they're showing up to around just under a foot of snow near Indianapolis. That'd be a good amount of snow there. Up to around 8 to 10 inches of snow. And around the border with Illinois, Indiana, could very well see over a foot of snow. So, definitely looking like a pretty significant snowstorm based on the GFS and CMC Euro. It's showing it being pretty widespread, just not the snowfall totals being too significant. The reason why I'm talking about it this far out is because the cold front here. Let's talk about the cold front. If there weren't a cold front expected to be this large or this significant, then I'd probably say this will probably change completely from snow to no snow. But models have been consistent for about 3 to 4 days, which, I mean, that's a good amount of time, especially for snows from this far out. But, I mean, look at the cold front here. This is it. Let me actually move my little screen here so I can see what day this is. This is actually, this is this is November 30th. This is November 30th here. As you see, look at that big cold front right here, and we are having a big warm front expected to happen late this week here. Well over 28, 23 degrees above average there in those areas in the East Coast. But watch right after here. This is now December 1st. Look at this. And the reason why I think this is actually possible is because it won't be like the round of snow we see in the Great Lakes. For the Great Lakes, the cold front happens right before the snow happens. Right before the snow happens. Like the cold front crosses the boundary right before the snow, or right before the rain converts to snow. The thing here, this cold front comes 2 days before this supposed snow starts, which means this surface for these areas will be very cold, meaning the atmosphere will be very cold. And not just newly cold, but being cold for 2 days straight, which means there's a greater probability this snow could stick, and this snow will be bigger than we saw in the Great Lakes today and 2 days ago. So it really just all adds up here. But again, December 2nd, the day before the snow starts, we're seeing well below average temperatures, like 16 to 20 degrees below average in northern Florida. For much of the southeast in general, anywhere from 13 to 18 degrees below average there. But before we see 20 degrees below average in North Carolina there. That is definitely enough. These averages are cold enough at this time of the year. And then December 2nd, still seeing 16 to 17 degrees below average here. And those averages, or those temperatures, lead to 20s and 30s here. And then look at this. The day of the snow supposedly starts. Look at this. Still well below average. So this cold front comes days before the snow actually supposedly begins. unlike what we saw in the Great Lakes, and that's exactly why the Great Lakes snowstorm was pretty small. I mean, it wasn't small, but it wasn't the biggest Great Lakes storm we've seen, and it didn't drop the most amount of snow, all because that cold front came in way too late, which allowed more rain to happen before the snow actually picked up, and then by the time the snow started to accumulate, the rain would move in again and make it slushy. But let's check out the two temperature anomaly here. Let's actually go, let's check out the southeast here. I'm going to go to the southeast here because it's just a bigger area to look at, and then we'll take a look at like the Indianapolis area and all that. So let's take a look. This is what we're seeing November 30th. As you see, really warm temperatures up in the 60s and 70s for portions of the coast there. But watch it, December 1st comes in. Look at the huge difference here. Now seeing temperatures up in the, let me actually move my screen again so I can see this. Seeing temperatures in the lower 20s here, or sorry, lower 30s and upper 20s for portions near Tennessee, 31, 28. That is definitely able to let snow accumulate up here near northern Georgia. Those temperatures will go from 40s to the 30s there, but look, even 37 for Louisiana. I mean, this all has some similarities between Windstorm Benji, which was a very large snowstorm, obviously. And look at this now, continuing, look, 24 degrees in Tennessee. That's really cold. That's almost the teens. 23 in Arkansas. Some upper to mid-20s there in North Carolina. I mean, these temperatures aren't playing. I mean, this is going to be really cold. And then the next night, look at this. By Wednesday, December 2nd, I'm getting near 24 degrees there. Look, 21 degrees in North Carolina. There's up to possibly even 19 degrees there in the border with Tennessee. We're seeing possibly teens in the southeast and lower 20s in the first day of December. That's well below average, obviously. And look at this. Let me show you how cold it's going to be. 35 for Mobile, Alabama. 35. 32 for Savannah, Georgia. 28 near the coast of North Carolina. This can not only impact just the mountains, all the way down to the coast, which means a huge battleground for snow to accumulate into effect there. And let's now move by December 2nd. That's the highs in the 30s only. And then by December 3rd, these temperatures continue to drop here. Obviously, still 30 degrees there in Georgia, 20 for the Carolinas and Tennessee, but definitely something to keep in mind.